Cursed! Or something like that. Happy Halloween, my gamers. Somewhat. Yes, pull out the pumpkins and the demon summoning. It's that time of the year where a monster like me gets to thrive. And today, I'm going to tell y'all about the trilogy of games known as Cursed. These are 3 free games that can all be found on Steam nowadays, made by DisasterSquad Productions, which, despite the name, is really only one guy, Paul Tocock. While it is debatable what genre these games fall under, they all share ideas of horror, first-person point-and-click, and action, with each game having their own take on that idea. I'm going to be going through all these games, and I mean actually discussing the progression, the story, just in all the experience. Sorta inspired by the fact that if I didn't, Cursed 1 would probably take about 5 minutes to talk about, so yeah. We got a grand triple game long old video to go through. So light up those jack-o'-lanterns and let's have a fun old Halloween time. Well, if there's anywhere to start with this trilogy of games, it's gonna be with the first one, Cursed. I'll be calling it Cursed 1 for the sake of understandment. This game was a project made for Paul's friends back in 2009. So if you thought this game was giving you some Newgrounds Flash game animation vibes, well, that's because it really was around that time. Though of course, the Cursed series was made in Game Maker, which, considering what happened to Flash, good call. Now, as much as I'm going to be praising these games for how cool they are, I think I need to preface Cursed 1 by saying, according to the creator, this game was made in a week. And while pretty impressive, I can also very much so tell by playing the game. It did receive some minor touch-ups post-release, but really, it's still kind of a mess. But let's stop fooling around and start with the story. The game begins with a text scroll telling of a peaceful village going awry, as a young girl from that village has gone missing for days after visiting the mysterious mines, which purpose is still unknown to the people who live there. All they know is that eerie feeling they get every time they're near those tunnels. After the text, we appear in a bar, in conversation with this old man, who we learn is the missing girl's, Jennifer's, father. To her left is her mother, who we can tell already knows her daughter is done for. This blonde dude in a suit, and this red-haired cool guy who just sits there, drinking away and calling Jennifer an idiot. Remember this guy. I kinda mess with the vibe here. The dark bar, the music, it balances a line between tension and chill, knowing that we're about to face truly horrific things we can't even begin to know. And this is our only chance to talk with other real people. I guess because we're directly confronting it, this game's art style, this series' art style, I love it. Yeah, it's kinda crude, but it's also stylistic and defining. It's styles like these that will always be a million times more interesting to me than the typical modern realistic stuff we've been getting for years. And maybe this is just a weird thing about me, but I think it assists the horror and gore in these games more. Something about the bright colors and cartoony nature seems so much more effective to me. I also just think it's pleasing. I like the character designs, and I suppose to some, it does capture a bit of that nostalgia for Flash games. Even if I, oddly enough, don't feel much for that. I get more MS-DOS nostalgia, or maybe even Shadowgate from these graphics. I just think it looks cool, and looks pretty great in motion. Considering this is the style used for the whole trilogy, it also feels very genuine, and I appreciate that. We don't get much new info from this conversation, other than red hair being there with Jennifer before she went missing, and basically, everyone here is a coward, so we've been called to explore the mines and find Jennifer. Cool dude tells us to bring a gun, but sadly we aren't ready for that yet. So instead, we're allowed to use a sword and shield here, like, damn, ancient evil requires ancient weapons, I suppose. So now that we're in the actual game, I can talk about how it works. Clicking random objects can give environmental dialogue, or items we can use in our inventory. There's no inventory limit, and clicking the bag icon will show us what we currently have. The eyeball at the bottom gives us a general description of the room we're in, while the blue arrow is what we use to navigate around, clicking it causing arrows to show up in the environment, which we then click on to go to different screens. Upon getting the shield and sword, 2 more icons will appear to use them, but you can also just use Control and Alt respectively. But that's for combat stuff, and we're not there yet. Heading outside the bar, we find the stairway to the underground tunnels, and with weapons ready, we go down. Unknown if the person we're looking for is still alive, and just what may be down there waiting for us. Not too far in, we find a save spot in the form of a piece of paper, alongside 3 save files at our disposal. Going back to these papers are the only way to save progress. Heading into the next room, I come across 3 coffins, one with a shovel, and the other ones with some less than alive people, when suddenly... I know what you're thinking. What the hell was that? And I was thinking the same thing. This game has random encounters. When exploring areas, no matter if you're in dialogue or looking at your items, a monster can appear. However, the player has a run button that they can just click on to lie down motionless, which has a chance for the monster to leave. And I'm not kidding, I feel like this works about 90% of the time. I barely got into any fights in this game, because you can just click the "nah, I don't feel like it" button, which I think is really funny. Just every time a monster comes out, our character just face plants until it leaves. But it's not too long afterwards that I do get into combat, so I'll go over it briefly. It's a block and strike sort of combat system. If you see the enemy about to attack you, block the attack with your shield, and then strike with your sword. There's no reward for fighting enemies, so your best bet is to just avoid them when you can. So I'm not sure if you've noticed it by now, but this game was made in a week. You can notice that clicking things multiple times stacks the text boxes. Sometimes it can cause the text to show up without the box. These are some of the more harmless bugs compared to what we'll soon encounter. Anyways, I'm in this room with a bridge that I'm told is pretty flimsy. But there is a passageway on the other side, so I think I'll take my chances and just cross. Well, that's Cursed 1. A pretty interesting game overall, with a lot of... Okay, I'm kidding. Yeah, there's random insta-kills. It's an adventure game staple, I suppose. Speaking of which, I find myself going down this dark cave, where without any directions, end up becoming monster food. Though utilizing a crowbar I found near that broken bridge, I find a room giving me some directions in order to navigate the maze properly. This leads me to a save room with a respawning blue scroll. Scrolls in this game are single-use items that do a variety of things, from a powerful attack to healing the player, or in this case, this blue scroll will teleport us back to this room, which is handy as we no longer need to navigate that maze to reach here again. And we will be traveling between the maze and the entrance, so this makes for a rather thoughtful fast travel. Things get interesting where I decide to follow some bloody footprints where we find none other than Jennifer's body in a pool of blood. Side note, I love that sound effect. It's like an 8-bit bass drop. The kind of sound effect you hear when you open up a pack of ramen noodles and there's no flavor package inside. Anyways, yeah, Jennifer is slump. Things get stranger as we follow the bloody footsteps to what appears to be a standard hallway with a door that you'd see in any house. The door is locked, and progressing any farther gets us face to face with an angry spirit telling us to screw off. But using a previous hint, I dig up a yellow scroll that can be used to banish the spirit. After which I got kinda lost, because it seemed like a dead end. But if you click on a certain spot on the wall, it reveals a discolored brick wall, encouraging us to find a tool to break it down. And well, my pockets are empty, so clearly I missed something, and I did. needing to grab a ladder to use in the entryway in order to find a buried body with a key to that locked door. I ain't gonna act high and smart or nothing, I already had the guide out by this point. Granted, I wasn't using it religiously, just whenever I got stuck. All 3 Cursed games have guides written by Paul himself, so maybe he thought players would end up getting lost anyways. Though with each preceding game, the guides become more unfinished, so we should enjoy this one while we can. Opening up that locked door, I arrive in the Blue Zone. It's here I find a journey that basically dumps all the plot of this place, so get this. 20 years ago, the Moonstaff's awakening has caused this great evil to be brought to the world, named Malus. And basically, there's some cult shit going down here, you know the vibes. Not too far in, I arrive in this bathroom area. This place is completely pointless, but it has my favorite death in the game, where you can see flashes of this person being killed by this ghost-like being, who begins to make its way towards you, where if you linger for too long...
Hello? Dumbass.
Upstairs leads us to a room full of crystal balls, one shattered. The crystal balls all show different images of previous rooms, but the one of this room having a strange monster which we are forced to fight upon leaving. There's not much to say about this fight, other than needing to block perfectly as the monster attacks 3 times in a row. Defeating the enemy allows us to leave and gives us another yellow scroll, which we'll be using to exercise a spirit later on. Going back into the hallway, I noticed an area that I could use the ladder I grabbed earlier to enter. Golly, would it be a shame if I left that ladder back at the beginning of the game. Instead of any sort of attic, it's a baby room. Yeah, y'all can already imagine what happens if you stay here for too long. After returning, I noticed a strange doll on the left side here that wasn't there earlier. That's a bit of a neat thing about the entire Curse series, that being RNG scares and moments that you may or may not see. It's neat. It makes for some good jump scares at points where you die and you have to travel back, assuming everything will be the same until something new pops up. But much like any baby closet, we're here for the sledgehammer, which we can use to break the brick wall in the other room. This takes us to a strange hall that looks like it came straight out of a castle, with an ornate carpet and wall lamps. We come across this statue, holding its hands out as if it's expecting something, and the main character decides that they need to go back to the bar and let everyone else know what has happened here. We make our way all the way back to the entrance, only to find that the door has been locked with a padlock, when suddenly... Okay, this is where the game starts falling apart. First of all, the first time I encountered Jennifer, that's Jennifer by the way, I accidentally used the blue scroll, teleporting me to the save room, where upon going back, she was no longer there, so I mean, that's a reload. Then I try again, striking once with my sword, then using the fire scroll, then striking twice with my sword, and I die. I try once more, and win with 2 sword strikes. Sure, I guess. Yeah, anyways, she's dead as hell. Like, even more dead than she was before. Dropped some loot though, maybe she was on that gem craft grind. But we need this for that statue all the way back. Or, well, forward. Alright, we're here. Damn, she's quick, go to sleep, bruh. The statue moves and takes us to this grand hall. Take a heal and save on the side. At this time we press forward. We're getting near the end. The hallway is being guarded by this undead knight guy. We have no choice but to face him in combat. Beginning the battle, I'm not sure if this is the hardest fight in the game or not, because it bugged for me. The fight is fairly simple. The knight raises his sword to swing it, and while at first I was blocking and then striking, he would always counter me. And what you have to do is flash him before he strikes you. So then I proceeded to spend the next 5 minutes doing this strategy. Like around 3.5 minutes, I really began to wonder if I'm doing something wrong, and eventually I just gave up and died. Then I tried again, and he died in 3 attacks. I don't know, made in 1 week. The knight tells us that Malus has been tormenting the dead for so long, and asks us to set them free by defeating Malus, giving us a key and the advice that if we're going to put Malus down, we're going to need the Staff of the Moon and the divine shield. But we could also just ignore that and head in to meet Malus. Hi. Damn, Malus is kind of fine. Sadly, he's trying to take over the world with some evil cult shit, and that isn't fine. So I tell Malus that I'm gonna get that Staff of the Moon and check back on him later. The key we got from this night is, as you would imagine, leads us back near the start of the game. This would be more annoying if this game's world wasn't so small. It really takes like 15 seconds to get there. Regardless, this takes us to a stairway leading down to a minecart. And that minecart isn't just for show. Ready for the random minecart segment? This action sequence involves us coming into contact with ghosts and wooden planks, my two worst fears. Unfortunately, the game didn't give me any instructions, so I died instantly. So here's the mix. You're supposed to use the shield to block the planks, while also clicking on the ghosts. Yes, clicking on them. Silly for me to think that I should be attacking them with a sword like any other enemies. At the end of this tunnel, we arrive at a temple, which I'm starting to wonder how this was all built, but maybe we're too far in to be thinking about realism. That little tunnel on the right is actually a shortcut that takes us back to the beginning of the game, so we don't ever have to do the minecart minigame again. Some goofy ass goober gamer ghost is blocking the way though, so hopefully you got that yellow scroll from earlier. Entering the temple, we find ourselves locked in a golden room. There's the moon staff here, but upon touching it, we learn that it's a fake. Going to the nearby coffin, we find the real staff has been taken. So instead, we grab this seemingly ordinary ring here, and use the blue scroll we hopefully have to get out of here. So I know what you're thinking. Well, shit, now what, Spacey? And, well, we go beat the game. Yeah, we found everything we need. I don't know how you're supposed to know this without a guide, but that ring we just found, that's the shield that the undead knight was telling us about. And the moon staff? Well, our big friend already has it. We just need to get it from him. So without further ado, the final boss of Cursed 1. First thing you want to do is put on that ring we found, or we're just gonna get melted. This makes us immune to Malus's staff attacks. He eventually fires a charge shot, and with the power of this antique ass sword we found in a bar, it's somehow able to ping pong the magical sphere back at Malus. He's gotta be like, what the hell? Regardless, we snatch his staff, and the real battle begins. We can use space to fire the staff, holding it down for charged shots. I'm not sure if the uncharged shots actually do anything, because what we have to do is wait until Malus flies at us, where we can then unleash a charged shot at him, and this stuns him, allowing us to swing our sword for damage, even if it doesn't look like it's doing anything. Repeat this a few times, Malus erupts into flames like a Castlevania boss, and it's over. As we stand in the empty hall, holding our staff, we wish nothing more than to leave, to have saved Jennifer when we came down here. Yep, Jennifer is somehow alive. I guess the staff can grant wishes. Jennifer wakes up and seems unable to remember anything after walking into the mines. Like, dang, you're not even feeling a bit of neck pain? Regardless, it's time we walk home. The main character reflecting on the horror that they faced. One that seemingly only they will remember. But no time for that. Heading to the bar, we have a huge celebration for Jennifer's return, with us being labeled as a hero. Later that night, we talk to Jennifer about what happened. She says she can't remember too much, but I'm sorry. That makes me laugh every time. Goofy ass ending. But yeah, that's Cursed 1. It's kind of a simple, yet charming mess. Honestly, for something apparently made in a week privately for a group of friends, I think it's pretty impressive. And despite that, it still feels genuine. There was passion here in creating a world and telling a story. This isn't just a funny joke game or something like that, and I think that's notable. It does kind of give those vibes of making a small indie film and showing it to your friends and family. Just, hey, I made something small and cool that could be entertaining for like an hour. Even on its own, it's still a pretty neat point-and-click horror adventure game that I could have seen myself playing back then on a scary October night and having some fun with it. Besides the bugs like the infinite HP enemies or the lack of polish overall with the text boxes, like I don't know why there's so many double periods on sentences. Maybe that's like a ancient writing technique that I was forbidden from learning. But it is the overall game flow of just running between a few dozen screens back and forth, not being the most interesting. Alongside progression itself sometimes being a tad confusing at points, but that's not really a complaint when it comes to adventure games, that's kind of an expectation. I also found that the process to reload a save file was a tad cumbersome, having to sit through the title sequence again, which considering this is a game with quite a bit of insta-kills and soft locks can be a little annoying. I wouldn't consider this game to be very groundbreaking or special, but it is important, because the following games we're looking at are quite a bit more special. So consider this game a stepping stone towards the sequels, because now things are about to get a lot more exciting with Cursed 2. So with Cursed 1 coming out back in 2009, you might suspect the sequel to have come out relatively close to that. Well, in actuality, Cursed 2 was released 10 years later, in 2019. It did start development back in 2010, but was put on the back burner until Paul saw interest emerging from his old project, resulting in the resumption of Cursed 2's development. And well, here we are today. Still being made with GameMaker 8.0 like the first one, huh? I think that's the GameMaker version that I used back then, long ass time ago. But hey, I think it's time we jump back into the world of Cursed and see what Cursed 2 has in store for us. The opening details the events of the last game, how Jennifer went missing and was promptly saved. Despite this, the town was never the same after Jennifer's return. It slowly became more desolate as its remaining citizens began to leave or disappear, an air of unease pervading throughout the eventually abandoned town. With the world not knowing what had occurred there all that time ago, one previous resident is making their way to town now, not knowing that they're about to dive head first into the true mysteries of this town. Well, we don't have much but new game, load game, and bonus, which we'll cover later. The game begins with our main character in his car, heading back to that town after ages. He's here to see his good old friend Jennifer. However, to his surprise, the town seems completely empty. Running low on gas, he stops at a nearby station. So the game doesn't say this until a bit later, but I'll clear it up now for the sake of clarity. We're not playing as the same character as the first game. This time around, we actually are somebody, who we can first see upon looking into a mirror in-game. Look familiar? Yeah, we're playing as that one red-haired cool guy from the first game. The game is pretty nonchalant about this. You only learn about this guy's name after beating the game. It's Randall. Which is probably because it's a retroactive decision. Most of these characters didn't have a name until Cursed 3 came out, where they then got bios here. I'm talking about all three of these games, so I'm just gonna say these characters' names to help with understanding the story of the series. So here we are at the gas station. First thing I do is check the glove box, where I find the main way that we'll be saving our game on this journey, alongside a hammer, our first item, and weapon. Upon grabbing it, we're immediately hit with the new inventory screen, and there's a lot to talk about here. And I'll cover things as they become relevant, so let's just keep it to the inventory, which is a limited space this time around and pretty free form, the player being able to just place items wherever, just having to make sure that the item fits. They can also drop items wherever they want as well, which is pretty handy. Speaking of inventory, the back of the truck has a storage container where we can store excess items. As you can tell, we're going to be using our car for a lot of this game, so let's go gas it up. Movement in this game is handled in the bottom right corner, where we select different contextual squares to travel around the environment. A bit hard to get used to at first, but makes speeding between scenes a lot easier without having to click an arrow button first. The eyeball icon is gone as well, which considering the hundreds of screens in this game, I get it. But the player can still click on objects for information. The gas station has been boarded up, so I use a hammer on the front door, but before entering, check around the sides, where I discover a trash can full of ammo and a gun. Yeah, we're going to be shooting some baddies in this game. Going around the back, I find this abandoned shack with a random brick, which I never ended up using. This game has a few just useless or player harmful items. You can't even throw the brick during combat. The shack has a container with a strange green liquid. Doesn't seem like there's much to do here, so let's enter the gas station. Speaking of useless items, there's quite a few that we can find. Something actually useful is the jar, which we can use on that mysterious liquid back there to get a replenishable full heal potion. I guess more seriously is that dead body around the corner. Not a good sign of things to come in this town, but at least there's a key in the shirt pocket. And besides that, a map that we can use. The way to use items in this game is by first equipping it in the inventory screen, then holding space followed by left click. Anyhow, this key should be useful for the nearby locked door. Funnily enough, you can even leave marks on the door with the hammer. Drew a little smiley face, just for you, my gamer. I do appreciate the amount of interactivity in this game. Like, to use a key, I need to bring it out and place it in the door. I feel like other games would just be click the key item, or the door would automatically open if I have the key. I think this is cooler. Anyways, oh snap! It's a bat! Let's talk about combat in this game. Okay, first of all, this bat fight is a terrible first encounter. I think they wanted you to use the gun because I could just not hit it with the hammer. Anyways, combat has seen a huge improvement in this game. Now the player can actually move around the battle arena in order to dodge attacks, having to pay attention to the enemy's tails to know which way to dodge. Furthermore, the player can aim where they strike. We can target certain body parts which can disable certain enemy attacks depending on where we strike, and that adds an extra layer to combat. Enemies themselves can also appear randomly, much like the first game. Anyways, that bat put me to sleep, and funnily enough, the next time around it didn't even fight me. Just a good example that once more there is a hint of randomness in terms of the events in this game. Regardless, I find the gas for the car so we can get out of here. Also, don't worry, the gas we have is enough for the rest of the game. We don't need to worry about fuel management. But speaking of which, we're on the road now. We can look straight ahead, alongside to either side of our car, so you know that means there's going to be something waiting there for us sometime. But for now, let's talk about how driving works. Our map gives us a handy reference to look at for where we are, and it all being connected essentially means driving is simply going down the road and choosing which direction you want to turn into. I don't think driving ever stops being a vibe for me. Something about the gray sky, the lack of music, the dying grass, bringing up the map at stops to figure out where I should be going. It just feels so much more immersive to me. I absolutely love how when you do arrive at a location, you can look out the window and see it come into view. Like, that is such a cool detail. And I always find myself doing it. Like, I low-key roleplay as if I really am in this car driving around. That's the level of immersed I'm in. A good chunk of this game is driving around in the car, and it's not as tiring as you may think, potentially helped by the number of random things that can happen whilst in the car, but we'll get to that. All I'm saying is that this is so much cooler than if the car just took you to a fast travel screen. This adds a lot to the game for me. Turning around is a bit of a hassle, so planning out a route with the map is a good idea. For now, I figured I should follow the map's message and stop at all these places that are currently checked off, starting with this house by the gas station. Well, we're here. Getting out of the car, I find the house has a light near the top window. It looks like we might not be alone. Luckily, the door is unlocked, but first, I want to check around the place. I find a pair of hedge clippers, but before I can grab them, a clown doll comes out to play. And not gonna lie, I was kinda cooking until I ran out of ammo and had to switch to the hammer. Then this clown just started beating my ass. I really wasn't ready for the spinning attack. My rule of thumb sort of became that if the enemy does an animation that you can't tell if you're supposed to dodge left or right, then just duck. Because usually the left and right attacks are pretty telegraphed. Luckily, I clutched out and earned some ammo for it. Yeah, enemies drop health or ammo upon defeating them. Going around the house some more, I find... Yes, this is Death. Through conversation, Death reveals that the humans here have been swayed into worshipping an archdemon known as Malus. Yeah, I guess we didn't quite do a good job previously when it came to stopping him. The two seem to hate each other, meaning we can at least form some uneasy alliance with Death. He's here because of the unbalance of life and death in this town, assumedly thanks to all the undead around. When asked for assistance, he gives us a coin, telling us that if we come across any undead beings, to flip that coin and summon him, so he can free the soul. Before departing, he also tells us of an ancient group of people that fought against Malus long ago, and we should seek remnants of these people for assistance. Yeah, this town is fucked. Let's head on into the house. As it turns out, this is Jennifer's house, but sadly, I don't think we're going to be finding her here. What is here is numerous enemies, instant kill grandmas, and dubious items. Heading upstairs, I find the first scroll in this game, and likely the most useful item in the game. But, we'll talk about the scrolls later, okay? I don't want to talk about the scrolls. We reach that lit up room we saw from the outside, and it turns out there actually is a live person here tied to this bed. Untying her, she reveals that her name is Sarah, and she's one of the last remaining living people here. She warns us about a group going around, kidnapping people and taking them to their base. When asked about Jen, she says that she hasn't seen her in years, and that day when she left the mines flipped a switch in the town, where soon the cultists took over. Not only that, it seems like the cult members have some sort of obsession with Jennifer. She warns us that the cult members that tied her up are going to come back soon and, well, shit. Looks like they got us, and now we're locked away at their base. I suppose we got luckier than Sarah did, who we later find out, well, didn't quite make it to the base in one piece. But we can't stay here forever. We grab a nearby pick and play a lockpicking minigame. That's something pretty new to this game, especially to this section of the game. Different gameplay styles and puzzles to help mix things up. Well, I solved the maze and... Alright, let's talk about it. This game has XP and leveling, gained mostly from fighting enemies, but also from doing certain puzzles like this. Upon leveling up, we get a gem. We can allocate these gems into one of 6 stats. Different weapons value different stats. For example, melee benefits from power and speed, but not reloading. The pistol benefits from speed, but the shotgun doesn't, stuff like that. You can't use certain scrolls if you don't have enough mind, but let's not talk about the scrolls. These gems can be moved whenever you want to, even during battle, meaning you can change your entire stat page just to accommodate certain weapons, which is kind of weird, but at least it means that we don't have to think too hard about what we choose. Though it does ask the age-old question of what's more important, health or defense, and my answer is both. But maybe defense is better in this game, I'm not too sure. Luckily, they left a bag of what we had in our inventory out for grabs, but we still need to get back to our truck for the rest. I think this begins by two sort of non-issue but still downer parts I have on this game. We get taken to this maze area, where cultists will goofily jump out and proceed to get smacked by my hammer, or take half my life. It's not the most confusing after you've been here for like 30 minutes, but the problem with these areas is the movement. Like, this game got my hand crying for help, just having to mash WASD around the screen. It's pretty damn tiring. But at the very least, it's fast. You can move around pretty fast, there's no like delay in between stepping, you can just rush it. We can find a number of rooms here with differing encounters and items, but also puzzles. Which the game can be a tad overzealous with some of these puzzles. Like this light up switch one made me call in my inner outbreak, but still took like 20 minutes. Especially when I solved it and then died like a minute later and had to do it again. But then... oh. A slide puzzle. The second I saw this, it was like getting hit by an attack in an RPG. But instead of losing hit points, I just lost like 30 minutes of my life. And this is the way out of here, so you have to do it. It's extra effed up because you need to exit the puzzle in order to see the image you have to make. But you can get encounters by doing that. And God forbid you die midway through or after finishing the puzzle. I have never been so locked in since I finished a slide puzzle in this game and ran to the nearest save point. It's bad enough that some of these rooms have zombies that death wants us to kill, which are pretty difficult fights if you don't know what you're doing. And I swear, depending on their position, it might not even be possible to dodge, but I'm not sure. If you got kidnapped and came here without a weapon, Godspeed to you. There's an option to run in this game if you're unarmed, but I don't know how that would work for the zombie enemies. Anyways, there really isn't much to do here. Depending on our progression, this could have been a handy teleport, but I'm at the beginning of the game with no items, so I should leave. I did power on this dimensional portal, being used to energize the base, and I also found this room with cameras displaying what looked to be Jennifer, but I didn't know how to work the machine or open the door, so I'll definitely have to come back here later. God, fresh air. I'm gonna need to come back here eventually though. I mean, Jennifer is there, but I also left some items. Hey, they brought the truck when they kidnapped us. Alright, let's visit some more places. Honestly, I wasn't even done with Jennifer's house, but I'm on the other side of the map now, so let's go somewhere close. Unfortunately, I can't read the map and somehow ended up here? The forest? Okay then, let's see what we can do here. There's nothing we can do here, at least for now. Just a shack with 5 engravings that we'll have to get back to. Alright, it's church time. This is pretty nice. The church is pretty vacant, with nothing but locked doors and a piano I can't do anything with. There's also a white scroll, which is nice. Besides the SpongeBob reference and a nice view of the nearby lake, there's not much to do at the graveyard near the church. It's clear that we're going to need some items from some other areas first. Maybe we'll have better luck at the bar. Ah, here we are. As you may have guessed, this is the same bar from the first game, even having the picture from that fateful day, with our man Randall lamenting of letting Jennifer enter that mine all on her own back then. We get a better look at Randall in the bathroom mirror as well. A soap bar here, alongside an anti-rust at the bar, will be useful for cleaning other items, as it is possible to combine items in this game. Just, don't stay on this screen for too long, or... This might be my favorite kill in the game. It's so cool, and also funny. Like, he is so focused on this empty bottle of soap that he just doesn't know homie shuffle in like, yo. Let's check what's in the toy. Funnily enough, the first time this happened, I got this sequence where a monster came in and killed me. Next time it didn't happen, makes me wonder how many luck-based events I missed out on. It's pretty cool. Last thing we can do at the bar is... well, dang. Isn't this a familiar sight? The shield and sword. It's the bread and butter of the melee build. Unfortunately, inventory size, it's massive, but it carries its weight. Some weapons have alt fires in this game, and the shield and sword, it's the shield, which can block attacks at the cost of leaving you stunned for a bit. Extremely helpful because you can both dodge and block, so it's a good way to cover your ass if you dodge the wrong way. It's also really strong, and has way better range than the hammer since it has a slashing arc. It might be ideal to focus in on the speed stat though, as it is pretty slow. Sadly, our bar journey ends here. As heading out back, we seem to be stopped by some invisible force. Okay, we've almost been everywhere. Let's check out this tower. The whiplash of going here is kind of funny. Like suddenly the grass is blue, the sky is red, and this fantasy music is playing. It gives the tower a sort of aura of mystery. It feels distinctly different and out of place from everywhere else in this town. But the front door is locked. Well damn, dead end after dead end, huh? Luckily, the last place we're going to is the barn, and it's going to open up a lot of things for us. Already I'm finding quite a few useful items for my grabbers. Going down this suspicious path on the other side of the barn, I get my hands on the cultist special, the shotgun. Not just a single, but a double. Unfortunately, this baddie is a bit too tall for my inventory page, which is starting to look more like one of those random item layouts that you'd find in a highlights magazine. God, I miss these. Sadly, its size is what held me off from using the shotgun for the most part, as the sword and shield was already big enough, but the pistol was a nice small sidearm for the just in case. This turned the game plan into me saving up shotgun ammo and splurging for the end game. If only I had any other weapons, right? Haha, funny. Next, the barn opens up and I enter it, which leads to another maze segment. I was recommended by some brothers to use the music box I received previously to avoid a monster. Completely unbeknownst to me, I actually did avoid the monster by using it. Only by looking it up after I beat the game did I realize that the monster was on the first floor. You can actually see it if your mind stat is high enough. After going through several floors, we reach the summit of this dungeon and we prepare to fight a boss. Oh, sorry, wrong game. The boss here is this vine monster, where we have to attack its 4 tentacles before it can strike us, which will then reveal the baby. We must strike the baby down on sight. Rinse and repeat. Not too tough of a fight, but it does have a second phase where the Wormster comes out to play, and learning how to dodge it can be a little difficult at first. While my last bit of health, I get the killing blow. For defeating the baby, I earn an orb that I can ponder my decisions to. I think with that aspect in mind, I can talk about the overall gameplay loop and goal of Cursed 2. The 4 areas with the check marks on them all have bosses and orbs that we need to collect. As we collect more orbs, new events are added to the car sections. Suddenly, our safe drives are a bit more crowded, as we have to contest with random werewolves running along the car, and the only way we can tell is by listening to them run. There's even a whole segment where our wheel breaks and we have to replace it. I won't lie, the horror vibes here are great. This part is genuinely scary, but also very confusing, as I found myself just constantly getting insta-killed, when what you're supposed to do is monitor the sound that you're making and waiting for the creature to leave. Game never tells you any of this. I wish Randall just had a bit of dialogue like, I should draw as little noise to myself as possible. I feel like something's watching me. Something like that. I began by heading back to Jennifer's house to finish off what I started, before being so rudely interrupted. This allowed me to pick up some items I missed, such as this doll, which, yes, I did end up using, and I think it made me jump more than anything else in this game. To reach the boss of Jennifer's house, we need to use the hedge clippers after cleaning them up to open up the attic. Alternatively, the hacksaw that we could have gotten at the church also works. To fight the boss, we're also going to need the flashlight, which we can find batteries for back at the bar. You know them, you love them, it's the eye worm. Hood classic. This boss sporadically dashes at you and sometimes shoots projectiles. Your best bet is just dodging and hitting, which I mean, I guess that's every fight. Why did I write that? Upon defeating it, we gain the cool looking orb. Now that I have the comically large shovel, I can finally explore the church. One notable item we get here is the cross, which will prove to be a very handy tool. We can also find an altar where the moon is shining upon something that is no longer. A hint here from an old priest tells us the answer to that piano puzzle. Solve that, and we can see the darker side of the church. This is where the hacksaw is, but more importantly, the boss. It's a head with many faces. They all shoot lasers in different directions, so it's important to see which one is going to attack, to know where you should be dodging. After that, the faces dissolve into a singular skull that sorta just stared at me. By the time it tried to attack, it already died, so okay. Thanks for the flesh orb, gamer. Alright, it's time to become unstoppable. Peep the secret tech. If you use the hacksaw on that shotgun, it becomes sawed off. I don't think this changes anything in combat, but it significantly shrinks the inventory space the shotgun takes up. In the part that you sawed off, dinner. Okay, we're on the last one, the bar. I've basically done everything here, but remember that strange force pushing me back outside the bar? Well, hold up that cross, and we find ourselves the bouncer. This fight actually had me at first. It has a gimmick where the enemy will slowly fade away and become invincible, so you have to keep pulling out the cross in order to reveal it. It doesn't help that the boss was blinding me too. I was caught off guard, and was trying to fire the shotgun without any gems allocated in the reloading stat. Next time, however, I didn't make that mistake, and this happened. Yeah, the shotgun is pretty dang strong. Also, yeah, I don't know what that death animation is. It def hit like the MS Paint stretch. Heading past that spirit we just fought, we can actually find where the mine tunnel once was that Jennifer went into, alongside that tower we went to earlier, looming over it. So, we got the 4 orbs. Did we win yet? And not quite. Remember that one shack in the forest with the 5 indentations? Well, throughout the journey, the player can find these colorful crystal skulls by solving optional puzzles and sequences. Some are pretty well hidden, but all are well listed in the walkthrough. We're going to need these skulls in order to get the true ending. Yes, there are multiple endings. In fact, we could have already gotten one just by getting 2 of the 4 orbs. You can beat this game pretty fast. But of course, that's the bad ending, which I'll show in a bit. If you don't know what you're doing, I will say going for the true ending in Curse 2 can be a bit annoying. It really is just a bunch of driving around from location to location. But after a bit of work, I got all the skulls. So, let's visit the forest and see what's behind that shack. By this point, I was also full gun build because, well, look how much shotgun ammo I have. Placing the 5 skulls into the shack reveals a ladder. Down from that is a winding staircase, and at the bottom of this complex is 3 doorways. The cracked ground gives the feeling of how worn down this place is, but the hanging lights tells us that people were here recently. Heading to the left, we find mummies and many studies on body preservation. We also find the purple scroll. Please be patient, I will talk about you and I will talk about your friends. Soon, you're gonna be okay. I promise. Middle door leads to 2 separate passageways. Right subpath takes us to a freezer room with quite a number of disposed people. This includes a zombie, which by this point of the game was one of the 2 remaining ones left, meaning 1 more zombie and we'll be done with Death's little quest for us. Unfortunately, he doesn't know where that zombie is, but to be fair, he never helped me find any of the previous ones. Like, what is he even doing here throughout the game? He knew how many zombies there were, yet I cleared them all? Maybe they should have kept that unused ending where Randall becomes Death, because we're outscoring him heavy. This obviously interesting green path takes us to this honestly pretty artistic green room. Like, damn, this is kind of a vibe. Randall notes this floating gem to be some sort of power source, but what it's powering, we don't know yet, so let's just leave it alone for now. Entering the rightmost path, I suddenly find myself trapped in a puzzle room, where I need to guess and check skulls by placing them on these pedestals, hitting the switch, and seeing how many are glowing. I only have a few attempts, but miraculously, my first guess basically solved the puzzle for me. I guess I got that gamer sense in me. Still, someone must be protecting something very important to put up all this security. Unfortunately, that green crystal from earlier is blocking us off from seeing just what that is. Well, it's time to unplug the Wi-Fi, using our trusty hacksaw to take out that cord connected to that crystal. With nothing stopping us, we can finally see what's been hidden in this room for so long. It's Jennifer, and it seems like she isn't alive anymore. And now, her body is being preserved for reasons we don't know. I'll clear things up for the confused. This is the real Jennifer, the one we saw in the first game, dead on the ground. The Jennifer we saved in game 1 was not the real Jennifer, but the fake one currently inside the cultist base. So no, the Moonstaff did not grant any wishes. Malus just played the hell out of us. Without much to do, I grab her locket and leave. It's time we head to that cultist base and get some answers. Using a keycard I got from Jennifer's house, we return back. Our target? That room where we saw Jennifer sitting on the throne. If we just saw the real Jennifer buried underground, then who's this lousy? As I said, we only need 2 of the 4 souls in order to open that door, and upon doing so, it's Jennifer's dad from the first game. He's with the cult now. Tim, that's his name, says that he gave up on fighting against the cult long ago, and accepts that it's thanks to Malus that Jennifer is still alive. He reveals that the cult is being ran by someone higher up, and they're all working together in order to give Malus a new body, sacrificing everyone in the town to do so. I tell him that I don't believe that Jennifer is the real one. He thinks we're lying and asks for proof, which luckily we picked up that necklace Jennifer was holding, and he immediately 180s on us, knowing that he's been fooled the whole time. We explain that even though Jennifer is dead, her soul is stuck inside the fake Jennifer, and if we could somehow extract that soul, we may be able to return it back to the real Jennifer. It's here that he reveals the big bad behind all of this was actually his wife, Jennifer's mother. Yeah, the one crying her eyes out in the first game is now the leader of this cult, sacrificing people to revive her lord, Malus. So I say F it. If we're gonna take down this cult, we're gonna need the same weapon which stopped Malus all those years ago, the Moonstaff. Tim says that weird tower off in the distance may have the answer we're looking for, and gives us a key to it, explaining that he's been keeping it from the rest of the cult. Well, we have a new destination now. However, before that, y'all want to see the bad ending? Going inside, we confront the fake Jennifer sitting upon the throne, and she basically confirms that she took Jennifer's soul and claims herself as the voice of Malus. She roasts us, and then it's fight time. Okay, listen to the song. Yes, this is the final boss of Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. Also, yes, I really did kill her that fast. Shotgun build is strong. Yo, is that the Castlevania 4 ending song? Randall stands over Jennifer's grave, stating that he knew there was a way he could have saved her. Driving home, and with the cult of Malus in shambles, he's made it his goal to let the world know what happened in this peaceful town, and hopes that we can destroy Malus's new body before it's too late. Randall succeeded in this task, as news reports that the town is going to be bombed, wiped off the map. Yeah, it's looking at these credits now that I finally realized that these games did not have original soundtracks like I thought they did. Rather than they've just been using music from a large assortment of games. I actually didn't think it was possible to grab a free game on Steam that would have all these copyrighted tracks, so that's pretty interesting. Maybe if I played Sweet Home and the like, I would have noticed this back in Cursed 1, as a lot of the music is from that game. Always wanted to play that game though. I played it like once, like 10 years ago, but I forgot a lot of it. Okay, well, that's the bad ending, so let's see if we can do a little bit better than that. In fact, we still have a lot to do. The true ending entails quite a bit. With the key to the tower in hand, I get in my car and head there. Unfortunately for me, this marks the hardest part of the game. Something that no amount of shotgun ammo can help me with. Puzzles. This whole moon tower has a puzzle on every floor. It starts out simple. You've got this dial that you have to line up. You got this choose which girl isn't lying with a variation of further dialogue and answer. Then we got this one about selecting a gem that's different from the others that, I'ma be real, I just guessed on. A room full of like 50 objects that you have to solve the riddle by choosing which of these 4 items were being talked about here. Yeah, just send me to the game over screen real quick. And the absolute hardest one of all, not even kidding, I was here for like 20 minutes, is this jerk who's been sitting here for like 100 years, ready to conduct his greatest prank yet, by making you play this shitty ass marble game where players can remove between 1 to 4 marbles per turn, and whoever removes the last marble wins. I just want to say this now, in comparison to Cursed 1, reloading in this game is so much quicker and easier. Just a simple press escape to bring up the menu and reload. But yeah, this guy scored on me like a billion times, hit the cursed jump scare pose you see all the time in this game, truly a classic. And then, at the top of the tower, the greatest troll of all. You need the 4 orbs. Okay, Spacey, you got the 4 orbs, or have you already forgotten? Whoa, gamester, low blow. Well, guess where 2 of my 4 orbs are? Back at the cult base because I used them to open the door. Oh my god. No more tears, Spacey. Eyes on the road. Placing all 4 orbs causes the moon to shoot a goddamn laser right... Oh, I see. This is how y'all react when I release a new video. Anyways, it's time we go back to where this all began. I love the atmosphere and tension of returning here. We don't know what is down here or what we're about to encounter, but we know it's not going to be good. Making my way through, I encountered previous foes from Cursed 1, and I find this strange black small orb. Everywhere I remember is still here, from that dark maze to even that area with the broken bridge. However, this time, there's some sort of altar here. Interesting. Taking my flashlight, I decided to go through the dark maze, where I got my ass thoroughly eaten. But that's when I remembered. I picked up the white scroll. This scroll would give you a map of any area, even the road. And just like all the scrolls, this is something super powerful. I made sure to save this one-time use item specifically for a maze that I would get stuck in. And I felt so smart to finally use it here, saving it up until this point. I bet nobody else held on to these. Oh. The scrolls aren't single use. Let's talk about scrolls. Whether or not you can use scrolls in this game is dependent on your mind stat and whether it's high enough, and their effectiveness also scales with that stat. There are 5 scrolls, each being very powerful in their own way. The white scroll is just a better version of the map, and could have helped me many times in a maze and even on the road. The green scroll, oh my god, the green scroll is a straight up heal. Yeah, it costs MP, but MP regens super fast. I could have been healing after every encounter, topped up after every fight. I don't think you can understand how much of a dumbass I feel now. I was challenging myself, going back to the gas station to get that shitty ass G Fuel, when this whole time, oh my god. The red scroll shoots a fireball, way too late for that, because we've got the purple scroll, which lets me shoot powerful lightning from my hands. Which, by the way, MP regens so fast, you basically have infinite ammo on these weapons. Finally, the blue scroll teleports you back to the car, which is handy. I was truly playing a different game by ignoring these. Some of these are like borderline cheat codes. Anyways, we visit some more familiar areas, except more decrepit from being buried for all these years. I end up hitting a dead end at that one demon statue that I put in that large gym in after Jennifer was done with her Bejeweled sesh. More like behead sesh, am I right? Okay, so what do we do now? Well, Paul's guide didn't make it this far, so I'm sort of on my own here. And by that, I mean I watched a playthrough on YouTube. Remember that black orb we got? Yeah, the game expects you to remember to go all the way back to the church in order to purify it in the moonlight. And well, yeah, that makes sense. This is just another example of how the true ending route just makes you run around to locations so much. But I handle all the business and come back, moon orb in hand, and place it upon the altar. This is Luna, which, first of all, fire design, but she's the goddess of the moon and the night sky. She explains that these mines were once owned by followers of the moon who worshipped her. Their downfall came when the oldest member created the Staff of the Moon, which is a staff that held the power of life itself. It's through this staff that they called forth Malus, which while they did banish Malus with the moon staff, his influence had already begun to corrupt them, leading the mine to now only be for the worship of Malus. However, Luna tells us that the moon staff can be found here, and it's guarded by her most loyal subject that will want to test our sword. I wonder who that could be. She wishes us luck and gives us the final key to enter the depths of the mine. Our good old gym friend. We make our way down to where the previous game ended, and look who it is, the Undead Knight. He explains that years ago, during the first game, he was under the control of Malus, and challenges us to a duel to see if we're worthy to get the staff. The stipulation? Sword and shield only. This fight is similar to the first game, needing to wait and strike, but it is way harder, requiring some strict attack and dodge timing, alongside some tricky attack animations. But eventually, he goes down, where I have no clue what the you're supposed to do in this fight. I only know how to dodge these dash attacks. All I can say is invest in defense and health and wail as much as you can. You may just come out on top, but just barely. He admits that we have bested us, but also stays determined, saying that we will not move him from blocking the doorway, that we can never truly kill him, because he's undead. Undead, huh? Remember how Death was saying there was one last undead entity around? The knight talks to Death for a bit, seeming relieved that he can finally rest in peace after all these years. Death thanks us for helping him with his mission, and asks us to name a reward. Well, the whole reason we're here is to save our friends, so there anything you can do about that? And it looks like the answer is a yes. All we have to do is capture Jennifer's soul in the staff and bring it to her body, where he'll handle the rest. Waiting for us in the next room is old Reliable. Knowing I was at the end of the game, I decided to say goodbye to some old items, leaving behind the sword and shield I once used to defeat Malus and the creatures within. It's time we get our friend's soul back. Now, for as much whining as I have been doing about the true ending route of this game, I will always say it's worth it because everything from here on out kicks ass hard. I drive back to the base, staff in hand, blasting anyone who tries to stop me. Jin's dad is outside, telling us that we're going to need another item alongside the staff in order to get Jennifer's soul. That item is that cross we found way back at the church. Confronting evil Jennifer again, the fight has changed. Upon using the cross, the monster will turn around, and from her back exposes Jennifer's soul, reaching out for us. Using the alt fire on the staff, we're able to begin capturing the soul. We have to repeat it a few more times, and let me say this new gimmick alongside the music makes this fight feel really cool. I will warn you that once the staff has Jennifer's soul, it will no longer fire, so bring a backup weapon to finish the job. Alright, Jen, let's get you your soul back. Jennifer is surprised to be alive once more, having distinct memories of death. Remarking that she's been dead for years, feeling stuck in someone's mind watching everything happen. She blames herself, all those years back entering that mine, even if Randall said we shouldn't have. The two of them agree that a strange feeling is arising, that Malus is about to return. When told that her parents were the one using her for the cult, Jennifer reveals that her ancestors were the ones that started the cult, and states that her mom was always pushing the mystery of the mines on her when she was younger, to encourage her to enter it one day. Meaning this whole crying act in Cursed 1 really was just an act. Jennifer was being used and manipulated her whole life. Realizing we have the staff, the two decide that it's time to put an end to Malus once and for all, and we head out together. Which, yes, Jennifer actually does accompany us in our car, looking determined towards the god we're about to face, and probably thinking about everything she's been through in the past years. Making it to the base, Jennifer decides to stay in the car while we go in alone, and what we discover isn't pretty. Her dad's been killed, and proceeding forward to the throne, we find the culprit, Jennifer's mom. She gives her whole evil speech, disowning her husband as a traitor, and stating that after returning Jennifer's soul to her body, Jennifer is no longer her daughter. She also won't allow us to pass, ordering us to surrender. Bro, shut up! Now dying, she calls to Malus, which is revealed to be that massive body of flesh that we could see previously in the base. She decides to give her body and life to Malus, to join with the hundreds of others that have been sacrificed. Before we can stop her, she pulls out a trick that nobody could have seen coming, and hits us with the meanest Hadouken, quarter circle forward, punch. This sends us out of the base, where Jennifer finds our body and pulls us into the truck. Now driving, Jennifer tells us that we need to go quick because Malus is actually right behind us. While she pilots, it's our job to fend him off, leading to this really cool fight, as the massive flesh beast Malus is crawling towards us as we drive away at high speed. Using the staff, we need to shoot his green orbs out of the sky, while also checking our sides to stop the wolf monsters from attacking us and Jennifer. We need to look for an opportunity to charge up the staff and use the power up shot to damage Malus. All the while, Contra hardcore music plays in the background. Kick ass. After several powerful shots, Malus is knocked down. Unsure what to do, we tell Jennifer that we're going to head in there and finish this. Jennifer tells us that we need to capture Malus's soul in the staff if we want to truly end this. Yeah, this rule's hard. This rule's so hard. This is the final boss of Curse 2. It consists of a lot of tough fireball dodges alongside shooting out those green projectiles. I won't lie, by this point, after all these fights, my hands started to hurt from clicking so much. So these fights had some IRL pain to them also. Our goal here is to shoot out all of Malus's body parts, where we then hit him with a charge shot, knocking him down so we can begin to capture his soul. It's not easy. He got me a couple of times, but try after try, I learned his moves, and I was ready to take him down. Wow. What an ending. That's Curse 2. What a game in general. Talk about a massive improvement from the first game. Straight up every aspect has been improved. I feel like the series has realized itself in its unique gameplay, the mixing of the genres, the style, the characters, the story, all these backgrounds. The amount of work put into this game is impressive. And the fact that I can still retain that charm, that passion, is how I knew this game and series is one of a kind. Curse 2 is a pretty damn amazing experience. and I'd say it's pretty up there when it comes to horror games I love, and I consider it a must-play to those who love the genre. But of course, this is a trilogy, and we aren't quite done yet. Before saying farewell to Curse 2, I will mention that we unlocked the bonus option at the main menu. This allows us to view several things, from character bios, jump scares, which I think the spider one is my favorite. Amazing. To unused concepts and items, there's some pretty interesting stuff in here that I'll let y'all see if you play through this game yourself. Hell, there's even a hardcore mode, which could make for an interesting playthrough. I think this game starts out pretty difficult, but definitely gets easier toward the middle endpoint, barring a few pretty tough boss fights. But yeah, that's Curse 2. I think it was after playing Curse 2 that I knew I had to make this video. And let me tell ya, if you thought Cursed 2 was good, I think it's time we talk about Cursed 3. I know what you're thinking. Spacey, that's bullshit. How is Malus going to come back when Homeboy threw his ass into the Chaos Dimension? And gamer, are you a mind reader? Because I was thinking the same thing. I'm also thinking the only way we'll find out is by actually playing the third game. Released in 2022, 14 years since the series started, is the grand conclusion of it all. Cursed 3. Before we make it to the title screen, this game opens with a sort of retelling of the games from Jennifer's perspective, starting with the first game's events, where Randall left her to enter the mines, where she was instantly killed and had to rely on the Cursed One's protagonist to get her out. Though of course, that wasn't the real Jennifer. This fake Jennifer then began the cult of Malus that took over the town. One day, as in like 10 years later, Randall shows back up and the events of Curse 2 takes place. Despite it being over, she still has so many questions about her parents, about the cult, and about herself, and now it's time for her to find those answers. Let me just say, I'm really glad that Jennifer is the main character of this game. It's such a perfect way to end the trilogy off. She was killed by Malus's monsters in Game 1, used by the cult of Malus in Game 2 before finally breaking free, and now here she is to be the one that will finally put Malus to rest. It really is her story because it always was. Let me tell you, the title screen has gotten quite a glow up compared to the previous game, and I like the menu selection. Reminds me of Resident Evil Outbreak with the typewriter. Yeah, we got chapters this time. Jennifer starts us off at the end of the second game, with her and Randall burying her parents. She believes her father has been keeping secrets from her family, and now that he's dead, she has no way to get any answers about why this all happened. It's then she remembered that outside the town were her great-grandparents, who, while she never met, lived in a virtually abandoned home, and that's where her father was raised. Taking her car and her gun, she sets out, arriving in a place truly in the middle of nowhere. Starting the game, we're already hit with a major change to the gameplay, that being the 3D view here, the player being able to turn and look around them 360 degrees. Double tapping a direction allows turning faster, while pressing back performs a first-person 180 quick turn. I think the ideas of combat can already begin to form in y'all's heads. But first, we're already stuck due to the gate being closed. Heading to the good old trunk, we find what we keep in all these things, a pair of scissors. This brings us to the inventory screen, which, to sum it up very easily in a way that most of y'all will be able to understand, it's Resident Evil 4. Items take up little boxes and can be rotated with the spacebar. One thing to note is that we can equip up to 4 items binded to our number keys. Items placed here are actually removed from inventory space, making it pretty useful with some of the items we'll be picking up. You know Cursed and its love for massive shovels. Items all seem to have hand sprites as well, as we use the scissors to snip the vines and open the gate. Or well, the gate just falls over. Here's another new change. Arrows contextually show up when we're facing the right direction to travel to the next screen. We also no longer have to click the arrows as they appear, which took me a minute to get used to. Instead, we just press forward, which helps with this game's larger focus on action and keeps a smooth flow for the gameplay and movement, making the area feel more real? It makes the world feel more three-dimensional, rather than just clicking between pictures like the previous two games. I think it's very unique. Early on, I grabbed myself a shield, which I learned a little later on is basically a must-have, as combat will be on screen this time. The dodging system from Curse 2 is gone, so this shield is rather vital to our survival, but it does take up quite a bit of space. Walking up to the front door, we can already tell things are gonna get weird, as the door seems to be sealed by some sort of magical energy. We don't have long to look at it as we hear an explosion from the road. That can't be good. Classic. Through the flames, we see a strange monster with green eyes staring at us. Things really go off the rails when our good old buddy Death shows up. After 2 years since Randall saved Jennifer, Death finds himself here as there is something definitely abnormal happening in that household. He says that if we want to open that door, we need to locate the sigil used on it and cast the subsequent spell, which he believes Jennifer should be able to do. Going back to the house, we get our first encounter, and I think how I handle it displays this game's combat kind of well. I'm kind of surprised how intuitively I picked up the idea of running between screens and kiting monsters. On the topic of weapons, this game introduces weapon masteries, where the more you use these weapons in the game, the higher Jennifer's skill level will be with them, affecting things like the delay before you shoot and reload speed. So while she starts off relatively weak and hard to control, by the end of the game she kind of becomes unstoppable. Something interesting for this game is that there's no melee weapons. You'll pick up things that may look like it, but no, it's all guns. Also, much like the previous game, there's no manual reloading, which adds a lot of tension to the combat. You don't know how much ammo you have left. And let me tell ya, without mastery, Jennifer takes her damn time reloading. I guess it's actually pretty realistic. Though I suppose it's not just guns, but also magic. At the front door I find a scroll. Instead of it being an inventory item, it gets added to our sigil list. Pressing 5, or the magic button, allows us to draw different sigils in order to cast spells, which of course takes from our mind meter, which slowly recharges over time. I'm glad to know that at least this time, I will definitely not be completely missing the magic system. Instead, it's another part of Jennifer's arsenal, even having its own mastery meter. I zap the 2 pillars connecting to the door and unseal it, entering inside the house. Not before noticing that this game has a hiding mechanic. Huh. The main hall immediately greets us with a flashlight, a save spot, and many directions to go, along with ominous paint warning us about midnight. I mostly spend my time doing what anyone would when they enter an unfamiliar house, just walking around and learning the layout, which, even after many hours, I struggle to wrap my head around. Something about the 3D space and movement in this game just never allowed me to have a solid grasp of the surroundings and where things led. I'm usually faster when it comes to these things, but for the first several hours, it just felt very disorienting. Maybe I just wish more doorways had clearer paths to where they would lead to, instead of me going, okay, the door next to the phone in the kitchen leads back out to the main hall. One notable room I encounter is the bedroom. It's here I meet Death again, who hands me an hourglass. This is essentially a quick save item. When you die in this game, you'll see Death doing nothing as per usual, and usually just roasts you. If you were to use a quick save before then, he'll be holding the hourglass, where you can click it and you get a nice reload. Definitely becomes more essential as this game goes on, where traveling to a save point can take a while, or more difficult sections with instant kills. All this wandering around the house has caused me to pick up a surplus of items. While anyone with a brain cell worth a damn would have had their item room be the main hall with the typewriter, I decided this would be my den where I drop my items, which is a returning feature from Curse 2. Finally, I interact with the bed and fall asleep. Passing in-game time. This has a load of gameplay implications, but for now, I'll say that it restored Jennifer's energy. Yeah, Jennifer has an energy bar that when it gets low, she needs to sleep or she'll be hit by a number of debuffs that makes combat and navigation tougher. I don't know about you, but my ass would definitely not be able to sleep in a house that I just came into, in the middle of nowhere, with monsters that want to kill me and blew the hell out of my car. You're tougher than me, Jen. It's also advisable to close the doors around you when you sleep, which is a new mechanic in this game. The nearby bathroom also supplies me with the good old healing scroll, alongside that one picture that I think I used as a desktop back in the game dev classes I took. Healing is nice, but it takes a significant portion of your mind bar, so while it's helpful to always have a heal, let's just say this isn't a game where you can just stand around and wait for it to come back. Heading back out, I find this study room with a computer, cassette player, and all sorts of weird books talking about seals and spirit communication, alongside a book discussing the story of the Lunars, how the gods Luna and Solus fought a war of many years, with Luna winning, until one of her worshippers created the Staff of the Moon, summoning in Malus and leading to the destruction of the Lunars, and the presumed death of Luna. Luna was that one lady we talked to back in Game 2, by the way. The cool hair one. We also find a note about boarding up doors from someone named Spencer. Whoever he is, he really seemed to be studying this place. Right next to the main hall, you can actually get your hands on the shotgun, which getting a weapon like that so early definitely sets the tone for this game. My adventuring is cut short when suddenly the lights are as well. I check my watch and realize this game has a day and night system. Unsure exactly what that means as Doom music begins to creep in, I run back to the bedroom and go to sleep. However, something strange happens. Normally when sleeping, you can't wake up until Jennifer's energy bar is full, but this time, she wakes up exactly at midnight. The same midnight that I've been warned about. I have no clue what's about to happen or come after me, so I just make a break for the bathroom and hide underneath the sink. Eventually, the Doom Eternal soundtrack hits at max volume and everything goes to hell. I watch in anticipation as suddenly an F-ton of monsters show up and begin moving around the bathroom. It's not too long till they find me out and I die in like 3 seconds. Welcome to the Midnight Raid. Basically, a bunch of monsters spawn in for the time of an in-game hour before disappearing, and you just need to survive. The first time is definitely the hardest, because there's a lot of different items the player needs to actually board up doors. So it's just kind of a crapshoot of running for your life. You can't walk through doors or pass if there's a monster in the way, so running into a dead end will, well, leave you dead. It's also in these battles that you'll notice the panic meter. Getting attacked and other events can cause this meter to deplete. Once it's fully drained, you're put into an instant kill state. It's not something I paid attention to too much, but it did end up causing a few deaths. Surviving the raid, I know my progress lies outside and head there. By now, I've done enough fighting to gain a level. Levels grant the player a gem. This gem can be drained into one of 4 different meters, each affecting a variety of things from the damage you take, how fast your energy depletes, how fast your mind meter recovers, to helping avoid panic mode. Unlike Curse 2, decisions are final, giving more weight to your choice of statistic. I like the ambience of being outside at night. It's a very different mood that I oddly find more calming and less claustrophobic than being inside the house. I also don't need to have the flashlight on, which is nice. I find and use a cassette player where we hear a message from Spencer's wife, who feels abandoned as Spencer has left but never came back. She soon goes under some sort of transformation as it seems the entire family has been infected by something in the house. Another note is the name Sarah, who is still in town. Sarah being the name of that girl we found in Curse 2. I go into a nearby barn only to find myself locked in. I'm trapped. Yeah, I know. Spencer is up to his games again. leaving us a note saying that he's trying to lead someone to his findings, but needs to make sure we're human. Which leads into one of the hardest captchas I've ever been through, needing to utilize the environment to open a safe. All the while some green-eyed monster watches us through the window. Get a life, loser. To clear up some air on who Spencer is, he's someone who moved into this house with his family after Jennifer's great-grandparents died, wanting to study and learn about the lunar people. So yes, you've heard of Spencer's mansion, now we have Spencer's house. I solved his riddles, earning me my freedom, alongside the ability to check out the locked manhole that he was hiding, which reveals what seems to be a sort of battleground of many dead people and monsters. Progress unfortunately trapped by the need of 2 crystals. I only got 1 piece of the Master Emerald, so we'll have to go back to that at a later date. But now I also have a magical spell that lets me capture low HP enemies as balls. These balls can be inserted here to be a sort of bestiary, allowing us to study enemies and their weaknesses. But it can also be used on this machine here to give us a sort of currency that can be used to dispense ammo and the like. So there's technically like a merchant system. I really like this though, because it allows you to specialize in certain guns that you enjoy and help grind up that mastery for. Outside the house, there's a creepy forest that I can go into, which is just about the last place you'd ever find me, but here we are. This is one of those maze segments like in Curse 2 that control like the WASD. You can just look, you know what I'm talking about. I love the animation of the notebook item. It's what Jennifer uses to draw maps, having herself be represented by where her pencil is. Just so simple but expressive. It's a cool idea. I find a scarecrow and suddenly get hit by a monster closet. Like, A+ to the coordinated ambush, guys. Y'all must have been set here by John Romero himself. On the try where I actually beat them, I meet the scarecrow, who tells me that it's a spirit in the body of a scarecrow, but would like to fit into something smaller. Checking my inventory, I'm going to assume that they don't want to be inside my watch or my screwdriver, maybe my radar machine, but instead I head to the cellar, another place where you'd never catch my ass, and I find a scarecrow head. Also, the fuse to turn the house's power on. Let's go and... I get the spirit into the scarecrow head, and then they turn into a yellow gem which we collect, and reveals them as a sort of familiar to help us. Let's talk about spirits. These are basically friendly monsters that we'll find on our journey, that we'll be able to equip. We can only have 1 active at a time. In this case, the scarecrow basically negates the sound we make that can attract enemies from other maps. One I definitely should have gotten before was the eyeball spirit, which is my personal favorite, mainly because he has dialogue for every room, and gives a lot of helpful advice that genuinely assisted me in my progression. And I just like being able to talk about them. They have a personality, and I wish I could talk to the other spirits the same way. Not only that, but we can locate these void orbs, which can be used on the spirits to upgrade them. So the scarecrow can make it impossible for enemies to find you when you're hiding, basically solving midnight raids, and the eyeball lets me see enemies' health bars, which is helpful for capturing them. I continued repairing the house with the phone line, the overall power, and I'm currently in the cellar draining the well, where I meet this character. She seems to be following me around the cellar, and if Curse has taught me anything, it's that whenever something abnormal or strange appears on screen, you have about 1 second before it instantly kills you. However, something about the way she recoils and runs away gives me an idea that she may not mean any harm. So I took the chance and... Well, that's nice, I guess. Now that the power is back, I check back in on Spencer's room. His computer now works, so I can read his emails. Damn, default ass background and files just strewn about randomly? You're a mess, bruh. Right off the bat, we get a pretty big reveal, with an email from Jennifer's father, thanking Spencer for saving Jennifer when she got lost in the mines. Which means, yes, the main character from Cursed 1 is an actual character, and it's this guy named Spencer. Another email details Spencer buying this house from Tim so he could study the lunar civilization, as it seems Jennifer's ancestors were lunar worshippers. With the phone back online, I hit it up. I call 911, and thank God Jennifer is actually smart and just tells the people that someone's trying to kill her in this house, instead of bringing up monsters. I always hated that trope. I don't know if it's intentional, but something about Jennifer's expression tells me that she doesn't actually need help, just back up, and she's pretending to be more scared than she is. Because by this point of the game, you should be pretty experienced with the combat, able to kite enemies, set up flamespell Okizeme, and just having a better handling on the guns due to mastery. This is exactly how I would handle a situation like this, if I was like a badass like Jennifer. I think my current power level is Cursed 1 Gen. The emergency line says that they'll send some people over, but it's gonna take some time. Useless ass. I then call the operator line. Jennifer says she's looking for her friend's number, that being Randall, which we then proceed to call. Randy is pissed that Jennifer is doing this all without him, but like I said, Jennifer seems pretty calm about it all, stating that if she told Randall, he was only going to stop her, and she wants to understand her family and the Lunars. Randall says he's on the way, so at least we got some actual reliable backup coming for us. It's around this time that I also got the ammo spirit from the Soul Machine thing, which I absolutely love the design of. Very creative with the bullet eyes. I'd buy a plush of this gamer. They're my other favorite spirit, just because they generate ammo over time for the gun you're currently holding. So basically, an infinite ammo dispenser. I really like that open approach to how you tackle this game. Like, you could just buy the ammo you like, or get the ally that passively generates ammo. You could board up the door during midnight, or you could use the steel door spell, or just hide with the scarecrow. There are aspects of this game that let the player tackle it in their own way, and I think that's very cool. The ammo spirit becomes damn necessary thanks to their upgrade, which lets you see how much ammo a gun has. Because once again, there's no reloading. So seeing when you're low so you can just fire the remaining shots and reload can save yourself from getting caught with your pants down during battles. Okay, let's stop screwing around. It's time we hit up the second floor. I was actually kind of confused at first because I forgot about the hilariously oversized ladder item. Like, this might just be the biggest item in the game. Not a big deal if you just store it in one of your 4 equipped slots though. This finally begins chapter 3, where we'll begin to learn more about good old Spencer and his family. We immediately get greeted by a family portrait. We see Sarah from Curse 2, and Jennifer recognizes the man on the right to be Spencer. One thing I do really appreciate about this game is the characterization of Jennifer through dialogue with the environment. In the previous 2 games, interacting with things sort of just gave you like generic general text of what you were looking at, but instead in this game you do get Jennifer's thoughts on all these different things that you're inspecting. I always love when games do this, and I think it does a lot to characterize Jennifer and make her a lot more interesting as a protagonist than the previous 2. I find a cassette from Spencer that starts at the end of his journey, where he seemingly got infected or cursed by something like his other family members. Rewinding for a while, and I do mean a while, we're about to take a whole sesh out of this guy. To give the short form, he details his progress on the discoveries of the house and his decisions to move here with his family. One thing he notes finding are these sort of pink crystals that he gave to each of his family members, alongside an underground building he discovered. A log from 2009 details Tim calling for his help to save Jennifer down in the mines, calling him specifically as these mines are tied to the lunar people, so his experience would help. And, I guess in my opinion, everyone else was too much of a wussy to go in. So maybe the lunar people thing would give him some encouragement, though he does note that saving Jennifer was his top priority. There's a notable pause before the next log, which would be the one he'd make after saving fake Jennifer in Cursed 1. And well, it's not looking too good for him. It seems like he got lost on his way home, like actual years bro got lost, and came back to find his family basically screwed, understanding that the monsters are drawn to those pink crystals that he gave to them. With his mind fading, he decides that he needs to lead someone here. Interestingly enough, it doesn't seem like enemies can come up to the second floor, making this segment pretty peaceful. The only thing you really encounter is this strange black creature hunched over, which in Cursed, if you see a strange figure and the music changes, that tells me I have about 2 seconds to find the nearest exit, so whenever this thing shows up, I just run from it. This entire chapter is basically about killing Spencer's infected family. I start by going to the attic, where I read a note about Jennifer's great-grandmother, Marilyn Lloyd, who's buried under the house, and wanted to be buried with this glass duck thing I found. So I head back to the cellar and find, well, her. Later, you can read that she never harmed Jennifer because she actually recognized her, and those weird sounds she's making is just her trying to talk. I love this character, and the fact that she was included in the game, because I think she's one of the best scares for anyone who plays this game, and the fact that she's a completely harmless character is brilliant. She gives us the other green crystal that we need back in the garage where the huge fight took place, but I got a family to kill first. Up in the attic is my first target, Spencer's wife Shannon. She's gone full spider mode, and her fight has a lot of shaking off minor enemies and keeping an eye on the mini-map down below to see where she's at before she super swipes you. I had the Guardian Spirit by now, which could block projectiles. Without him, you should use the shield, but to be fair, you should always use the shield. I'm just gamer goofy. I had so much shotgun ammo by this point that I just tried to base race. Things got pretty close, but I took her down, where I find the first of those pink crystal things that Spencer gave to everyone. Wasn't expecting the Seiken Densetsu 3 music and the sudden fantasy land. We see Luna, that moon god lady with the cool hair that we sorta met in Cursed 2, worshipped as a queen. She's told by one of her knights that her people wish to show her something. Death also shows up, warning Luna that she should not be interacting with the affairs of humans. But Luna confidently says that these are her people and she would never abandon them. And that's it for now. Next boss is a little tricky to get to as his door is sealed off. Luckily, Spencer has a book on how to deal with seals. And I have a walkthrough on YouTube, which I won't lie, I got walled here. We need a white bone to get grinded, which translates to getting a bone that we get from a rotten piece of meat that we feed a carnivore's plant into the garbage disposal unit on the sink where it becomes fresh powder we toss at the door. Heading to the newly born Pippi, who might have the funniest boss scene in the game, where he's just chilling in his crib and he just wakes up like, the fuck? He circles around the room surrounded by all these bubbles. You need to pop the bubble with the black dot in order to stun him, where you'll then realize that you wasted all your ammo and now you have to reload during a stun phase. I think if you use the bow, it pierces everything and you can damage him directly, but you gotta pay me to use that thing. Besides guessing wrong and getting bombarded, who would have guessed that the shotgun probably isn't the best choice for precision aiming? There's also some haunted furniture that will fly at you. I think one killed me on my first attempt or something. I don't know how I died. I thought the boss had like a death attack. Let's grab that crystal. Following the previous story, we see Luna at a presentation, where a man reveals the Staff of the Moon, demonstrating the staff's power to siphon life, which I imagine most people are like, who's asking for this? He ends up summoning Malus, who slaps his ass and sends us back to reality. Next up is Sarah. Seeing how she's like, already dead, we need to kill her again. Yeah, she just can't catch a break. Following that Seance book and using the Hasbro classic, Ouija, we set up a whole board game in Sarah's room to talk to her. It's actually pretty cool how this is implemented. Basically, as we ask her questions, the planchette begins to slide towards the letter, and we can guide it to what we think she's going to say to speed things up as well. It's just an interesting way to simulate what it's like using this sort of thing, how it feels like something's dragging alongside you and it's not you. Sarah says what we already know, that she was killed by the cult and she knows who Jen is. We ask if we can see her, but she says that she'll hurt us due to the crystal she's holding. We said that's okay, and she moves the planchette to BET, because it's go time. This is the fight that made me realize that I should have the shield on me at all times, because there's no way to dodge or stop her biting attacks, which kind of makes me wish the shield was just its own button or something. You know, if I was Jen, I'd at least try to lick the rock, like just once. I mean, looks yummy, know what I'm saying? Add that to the list of why I'd never survive one of these stories. Forbidden rock candy. Now with Malus unleashed, we see Luna and her army, looking to drive Malus and his monsters back to the portal where they came from and seal them away. How this storyline will conclude is what we'll find out with the last crystal. Justin. Justin apparently did end up eating the crystal, so I guess that's my fate. I mean, I was just gonna lick it, but throughout the game, we've been digging up pieces of Justin's body, who got torn apart by Pippi for not wanting to share rooms with him, where Shannon eventually buried him. What we have to do is gather all of Justin's parts and then bury them in the middle of the forest, which is kind of confusing. Like, can't we just, take his crystal now? Whatever, we bury him, he gets Frankenstein lightning striked and runs into the forest. I'm not even joking, this is probably the scariest part of the game to me. I never felt too right walking through the forest, because it seems like there was no enemies there, which always told me that maybe there was an enemy and I just hadn't seen it. It's such an ominous area, and every once in a while you'd hear a random ambient sound, which is where I'd always just book it in a direction. And here's the culmination of those fears. In order to defeat Justin, we need to move around the forest and listen to the music. As we get closer to him, the music gets louder. And I can't explain the rising tension of hearing the volume at its max amount and just wondering where the hell he is and when is my ass about to get blasted by a jump scare, because you need to seek him out in the background between the trees and shoot him. I was locked in. My gamer lean? Immaculate. I don't even know if this boss could hurt me. I destroyed this kid and sent him back to the lobby. Don't try me. It's here we receive the last crystal and get the conclusion to the story of Luna. Luna's army has been backed into a corner as Malus is knocking at their door. She's confused at how she lost so much of her strength as Malus comes in and is about to kill her before one of the knights fires a shot at them, only to hit that familiar pink crystal, destroying it. Well, it seems we have all the crystals to this puzzle, so heading back down to the garage, we enter chapter 4. We realize that we're at, or at least very close to the same place that the crystal was destroyed, just as we saw in the flashback. There's a mysterious, ancient structure here that seems to be sealed, probably for centuries. Let's unseal it with our Phillips head screwdriver. Unfortunately, we need one more item. A notebook from the people trapped here during their final hours reveals that we need to go to the lair of the Gorgon, also known as that well outside the house. This takes us to another maze segment like the forest, once again using the map to navigate around. Unfortunately, we're not alone, as there are invisible monsters that when they see us, which can be outside of our vision by the way, they will send an attack that will insta-kill. There is a way to see these monsters, that's with the eyeball spirit, making them the only spirit I feel is actually necessary to beat the game. Though even with the spirit, I just found myself stepping into an intersection, waiting to hear the attack coming at me, dodging out of the way, and then killing the monster. Once I cleared this place out and got the map down, I realized the gimmick of needing to open certain pathways to hit all the switches to fight the Gorgon. The fight with the Gorgon took a bit, because I was told that its gaze could turn anyone into stone, which is facts, but I just got this item that looked like a mirror, so I thought the strategy would be to make the Gorgon look at itself to turn into stone. So that already wasted a few attempts, and worse yet, midnight just struck. I tried to wait outside the boss room for midnight to pass, because surely monsters can't come down here, right? Well, yeah, but instead I just got blasted by water and died. Straight up drowned in the Kool-Aid. Time freezes during the boss fight, so I just need to beat them and book it. This is a good fight to look at the radar on, as the boss's tentacle head things will emerge and emerge randomly from the water. The second phase is all about shooting the eyes, I think they expect you to have the shield. I mean, considering the Petrify image has Jennifer with the shield, I'm assuming they always expect you to have the shield for the entire game. But I didn't have the shield, so screw you! And I didn't need it either. I also think you're supposed to use the time slow magic you get from this dungeon when it puts you on the merry-go-round, but I just thought I could aim better. Gorgo explodes into a big ass key. It's midnight, and luckily Blue Scroll has my back, allowing me to teleport back to the house before I get blasted by the strawberry juice. Not that I'd mind. I'm also at the very satisfying point of the game where I no longer need to hide during midnight, instead just fighting off all the monsters. It really just goes to show how fun this game's combat is. I won't lie, despite that, by this point of the game, I was feeling kinda on it, you know? Like, at this moment, I still preferred Curse 2. A part of me was hoping that this game would be more about Jennifer, because it feels like all we're learning about are lunar this, lunar that. But what about Jennifer, right? Well, listen. Everything from here on out is when this game goes completely off the rails in the best way, and why it's my favorite Cursed game. Heading down with the big old key, we have one more puzzle preventing us from progression. It's this puzzle where we need to match up colors to these nodes, only having red, green, and blue, but needing to combine colors to different points. I struggled quite a bit with it, and to be real, I didn't even solve it. I like glitched it. Catch this. I don't even understand what happened. The puzzle got confused. Oh yeah. We take our big old key and shove it in, unlocking the door. It's here we find the pink crystal that ended up getting blasted back in the past. Jennifer contemplates breaking it, but like, bruh, I just spent the last several hours destroying a bloodline in order to get these crystals. I'm thinking we should at least put them all together. There's 2 rooms on the sides. One with an emergency exit and an army of knights, the other room hosting strange machinery we don't know how to control. With nothing else to do, we begin to rebuild the crystal. And let me tell you, this next scene that you are about to see completely changed this game for me. My mouth was wide open. Like, I could not believe what I just watched. Just watch the scene. Okay, I'm gonna be real. It's November 15th. This shit was supposed to come out in October. I don't know what happened. My life is a mess. But anyways, the music in this scene is probably gonna get me copyright struck, so I'm just gonna live commentate it. So we see Luna after the scuffle she had with Malus, and she seems to be dying, blaming the fact that something has happened to her that caused her to lose her powers. Death is distraught. Lunar says he needs to do what his job is. She reaches out to Death and tells him that she puts all her faith into what he plans on doing, and tells him that he needs to find a way to keep her spirit safe, telling him to follow his heart and doing what he believes is right. What the hell? Jennifer is actually a god? This scene rules hard. I did not see this coming. This whole time we really were learning about Jennifer. What a twist! And things only get wilder. Death shows up and says that Luna can't stay in this realm for long. Placing our hand on this machine, we unlock the realm which we came from, selecting it, opening the teleporter, and then leaving. Yes, what you're seeing is true. We have a completely new leveling system, inventory, and even weapons. We gain faith gems and fear orbs depending on how we perform in combat. Faith gems let us level up our power, our regen, or how long we'll be able to exist in other realms. Fear orbs will be used for the shop we're currently heading towards now. The shop owner doesn't believe we're the real deal, but we can prove ourselves by challenging the captain in the Colosseum, using none other than a sword and shield. Yes, several hours into this game, and suddenly melee combat has been reintroduced. How weapons work as Luna is completely different, as we can equip a left hand and a right hand, representing left and right click. I practiced the new melee system at the Colosseum. How you attack is by pressing down the mouse button and swinging in a direction, being allowed to strike at different angles, which is going to become a pretty big focus throughout these next portions of gameplay. I'll get more into how I feel about this later, but for now, we head on up to meet the captain. This fight is about patience, waiting for the captain to swing where you need a counter by swinging at the right angle. I'd be lying if I said I had much of a clue on how you're supposed to do this, but luckily the captain has an attack where he rushes at you, where you need to win a small mash fest to gain some free hits. We win and prove that we are the queen. Now I will say, it is possible to recruit the captain as a spirit. We have to do this whole second fight where no shields are allowed, and I mean, I'm a Rivals of Aether player, so I should have definitely won, but if I had to guess, you might need that shield spell that I didn't have yet, or you just need to be gamer excellent, which in this case, I was not. Going to the throne room, we chatted up with Death. He reveals that Malus is still alive, and was trying to destroy that crystal we put together. Which, yeah, by the way, there is a bad ending where you destroy the crystal, Jennifer calls 911 again, the police comes and she leaves, feeling like she lost a major part of herself. But I mean, who cares? This is way cooler. Death also answers our burning question of how Malus can still be here, with the answer being that Randall only sealed the form that he was inhabiting, and his actual soul is thriving in the void. This whole time, Jennifer's family were hiding the faith crystal, but Spencer digging it up is what caused it to essentially be on Malus's radar. When asked if he knew Jennifer was Luna, he admits that it was only when Randall returned her soul to her body. Which, by the way, even though he's McQueen, he still roasts our ass at the game over screen. Like, bro. So what's the game plan? Malus is planning a massive attack on the Earth, and we need to stop him. The way we do this is by utilizing that machine that we used to get here. Apparently, items placed there will allow us to go to their origins realm. This means that we need to capture monsters from specific regions, which we can have knowledge of thanks to submitting their soul to the bestiary. You know, I always pronounce it as bestiary, but it's just bestiary. But wouldn't bestiary make so much more sense? Because, you know, beasts? Damn. Okay, we need an individual monster from each of these 4 realms in order to start our journey within them. Despite the crystal being repaired, Luna still isn't at full power, for reasons that nobody seems to know. This means that she cannot stay in her void form for long periods of time in other realms. So when we return to Earth, we're back to Jennifer form, which, to be real, is a lot stronger just due to having guns. I go back to collect the souls and unlock all the areas, you know, easy grind stuff, where I then decide to start with the Bone Marsh. As Death said, Luna cannot stay in the Void Realms for long, and how this works in gameplay is that our blue bar here will slowly deplete. Once it bottoms out, our health rapidly drains. This is also our mana meter, which makes casting spells rather risky. Baluna has a lot more meter than Jennifer. Like, you can stack heals with her, while with Jen, she'd have to wait to recharge between heals. I solve a ball puzzle and screw around with this void language puzzle, which I think they expect you to go back to the house to solve this cryptogram, but I just waited until I found the word "the" and went from there. They aren't necessary, but they give good hints, like how we need to give a tree some sort of potion of rejuvenation here. These 4 realms each have their own puzzles that need to be solved with items from other realms, so I'm going to be dancing between a lot of areas here, but needless to say, I'm out of things to do with the Bone Marsh. I went to quite a few of these realms, but to start at the point where I actually make any sort of progress, the Black Abyss. I like traveling between the torches at the beginning in the black space. It kind of reminds me of the one Yume Nikki area with the lanterns. I've run these sort of blue catacombs. The eyeball spirit tells me that there's a secret wall here, and looking around the room, I realized that all these shapes on these chains can be pulled down, with one opening the door. Only problem is that the wrong one gets you the spiked hat treatment, so we're gonna have to be very careful with the one that we choose. Which is why I just kept guessing until I got it right. I'm not usually one to brute force, but I never actually found the solution written anywhere, or if I did, I just didn't understand it. Behind the secret wall is some rather random gunpowder kegs, which I grabbed 2 of, because back at the Bone Marsh I encountered both a tree and a cracked skeleton. I thought at first I would get a weapon to break them, because none of my spells or attacks were working, so then I figured I should bomb.com them. For other things I found in this room, is this book detailing how there's a lake of gods in the realm of torment. Malus once brought a human there alongside a demon and threw them both in as sacrifice, allowing Malus to bind together mankind in the void. The only thing that could stop this curse is if a human and a lunar were sacrificed into the lake of gods, which, well, gives me a bad feeling to how this story may end. But this is what led Malus to try and wipe out all the lunars, because if they're all dead, then nothing can unbind the void and humanity. I wonder what else is in here. Oh hey, what's this? Why are we doing this again? You know what? It's 4x4. Surely this isn't too tough. Just need to connect the tiles in a way to form a long dragon and that's Curse 3. Honestly, I thought this game was great. It really sought to innovate on so much from Curse 2, when the developer very easily could have made the same game again. And while there are some aspects... Oh, what? The 6x6 slide puzzle is optional? Word. Your reward for doing this is one of those void orb things to upgrade a spirit, so I guess I'm never going to get a playthrough of this game with all spirits maxed, like... Haha, isn't it weird that there isn't enough void orbs for all the spirits? Oh well. I mean, to be fair, I never got the captain spirit, so this all works out for me. Before leaving, I grabbed the rejuvenation potion, meaning that I have all I need for the marsh. Back at the marsh. I blow open the skeletal monster, where I get the final crystal skull, which, yeah, I've been collecting. They're key items needed for travel across some of these areas. Blowing up the tree results in me finding where I need to use the potion of rejuvenation, and the first boss we need to fight. It circles around the bones of this huge monster, and we need to break the regenerating bones in order to strike it. Sometimes bombs show up that you need to slice at a certain angle, but it's not too tough. Winning this fight earns me a key, which I take to this building here, unlocking a chest and earning a pretty familiar staff. Damn, we're hexing building the ultimate weapon out here, huh? This structure sort of repeats for the other realms. There's a boss, a key to this building, and a part of the Staff of the Moon. At the Realm of Torment, I find a sickle, which, I'm not even joking this time, came straight out of a highlights magazine with where it was hidden. This is another weapon, which means we can dual wield if we want to, but not having a shield is sort of a throw. I don't know if the sickle is like supposed to be good. It seems pretty slow compared to the sword. Let's finish up the abyss. There's a really cool puzzle here involving the crystal skulls, where depending on the colors we put in, lights up the painted glass in a way to give us a number, which we'll need to enter on the boss door. I'd imagine this puzzle is probably a lot less cool if you're colorblind though. Okay, this boss made me hate the melee combat in this game. You're supposed to hit both eyes with one attack, and then open up the third eye, which then you'll use the shield to reflect a projectile into the third eye. But I feel like so many of my swings just don't come out, or aren't the angle I meant to swing in. I don't know if this is because I have a very cramped mouse area. Like back in Curse 2, I was struggling to do circles on the car repair segment, but I guess I just didn't swing the mouse with enough force. Another thing that really annoyed me was that changing weapons de-equipped your ready stance. Like you press space and you bring out your sword and shield, but that takes time, leaving you vulnerable. I get that part of the fight is waiting for the eyes to line up for a single sword strike to hit both, but I thought it'd be easier to just hit one with the sword, one with the sickle. Okay, it's over. The face monster can't hurt you anymore, Spacey. The Frozen Expanse is my favorite realm. I like the calm vibe, the Secret of Mana music, and the fact that it isn't trying to be outright horror. Though with that in mind, I think cold horror is sorta underrated, but that topic isn't here. This place is chill. I love the spires in the background, the skyline. I like the idea of all these different realms as actual large entire worlds that could be explored, outside of our short visit to them. It's here we find some shotgun shells alongside the blood of monsters. Luna says that there's no way that something from the Earth realm could show up here, and seeing how there's 2 shotgun shells, like a double-barreled shotgun, I think our boy was here. I mean, he wasn't picking up the phone earlier, so I suppose so. The boss here involves this large tower full of anvils and hammers. At the top, there's a statue that we need to blow this horn we got from the Realm of Torment, which brings in this massive boss. This enemy is neat. It's attacking the tower, which has its own health bar, but it's through the holes that it attacks through that we're able to strike the boss. It also moves between floors, so we need to chase it. I think that's one of the cooler things about this game's combat. It's how enemies can transition between maps, like how they follow you around and such. I feel like in a lot of games like these, once you leave the screen, you're safe. Anyways, we defeat the monster and get the next key. Also, out of nowhere the Avengers show up, like straight up monster house on my ass. Enemies here usually come 1 or 2 at a time, so this sort of felt like an event. There's this puzzle where the building to get the next staff piece is out of reach, and we need to find a way to make the tower get closer. And I feel no shame for telling y'all I looked this one up, because this solution is damn near cartoon logic. We have to take these anvils scattered around the tower and place them all at the same spot, which causes the tower to fall over and form a bridge. I mean, I guess. One more piece of the staff. But before that, back in the machine room, Death tells us that Randall showed up and wants to destroy Malus with us. Using the Divine Shield, a callback to that ring Spencer found in Cursed 1, he can enter the void. This is actually true. If we head back to Jennifer's car, we can find Randall's truck. I wonder how long it took him wandering around the house to realize that he should actually be in the garage, because there's a manhole to a secret underground area. The Realm of Torment has a large castle which we need 2 crystal skulls to enter. Our eyeball friend lets us know that this is where Malus is currently at, and where things will all end. But first, we have to do one last maze segment, involving randos running around corners making me jump to the moon and instant kill spike ceilings. Navigate the spikes correctly, and we arrive at the boss, which is a wall of eyes. Using a hint I decoded earlier, we're going to need to use the time slow spell, as the eyeballs open and close too quickly to be hit, and it gives us time to turn around when the wall moves forward, which is an instant kill. Defeating the boss, we reach a hall and obtain the final key to restore the Staff of the Moon. Not only that, but a strange sarcophagus. There's a puzzle to it, but I sure didn't know the answer. There's a note saying that this room holds Malus's 2 biggest weaknesses: a key and some sort of magic that apparently the Cursed 3 must never find. With the final piece, I combine them all and once more we have ourselves the Staff of the Moon. Malus is going down. Using our keys, we find our way to the center of Malus's castle, where he lies, and I think it's time we take him out for good. Damn, he didn't even get to meet Luna. Hey, rest in peace, man. Malus is here, and he's ready to fight. But I'm fucking sick of the damn shield, so I just face tank and heal with magic. The staff isn't a weapon like the others, it's actually a quick slot item, which is a little weird. We're supposed to attack Malus enough to stun him, where we then hit him with the charge shot, kinda similar to his previous battles. Bro's kinda light work, like, that was not hard at all. We beat him, and he warns us that he will just return in the coming days, and can never truly be stopped. Heading to Randall's corpse, Luna blames herself for his death, as she believes that everyone that cares for her always dies. In his jacket, she finds an odd code, where the game rather blatantly tells you that there's a different ending you can get, but we'll get to that later. Picking up Randall, Luna believes that they can still fulfill their destiny and stop Malus. I absolutely love this scene of her climbing up the stairs. In contrast to Randall and Spencer both going down the stairs, it sort of gives a finality to the ending. Following the book we read that stated a lunar and a human must fall into the lake of gods to stop the void and humanity from being linked together, the two dive in. And that's the end of Curse 3. And there we go, the other ending, End the Curse. But oh no, what's this secret flashing ending down here? Yeah, there's still a true ending. And let me tell you, it gets way cooler than you could ever think. I don't know where Homeboy got this code, maybe he looked up a guide. Honestly, I don't know how Randall got there. Our asses need to go on this epic quest to gather 4 keys, he definitely hit the ID clip. But we need to go back to the sarcophagus and use that code on it to open it. This results in this corny ass puzzle where you need to match all these symbols in one go, lest it resets. I know what you're thinking. Hey Spacey, wait, can you leave it up so I can get the answer too? And no gamer, this puzzle's random. Best of luck. Solving this puzzle rewards us with one last magical spell, Spiritus Exellum. Luna reads that there's 3 humans that can stop Malus, the Cursed 3, Randall, Jennifer, and yes, Spencer, the 3 main characters of the Cursed games. Jennifer realizes that green-eyed monster that has been following us around, the one that destroyed her car, is Spencer, and this spell may be what we need to bring him back. Why the ending plays out differently, that Randall isn't just at Malus getting put to sleep, I'm not sure, but he's okay now. Because instead, we need to go find our man. So I figured I'd just have to wander around until he showed up randomly and then hit him with a spell, which is funnily enough what you did have to do in older versions, but we got a bit of an extra step this time around. Heading back to the house, we notice that's been torn up by some sort of monster, which gives us a hint on where we need to go. Yeah, Spencer's research room. We haven't been here for hours, so I wouldn't be surprised if you all forgot it, but I remember it quite well because I was still sort of just randomly stumbling around the house at this point. But upon entering the room, damn, he's kinda cute. I mean, we gotta save Spencer, right? This fight, I mean, I think I just did not understand the assignment, because the first time around, I just kept spamming the new spell, and I couldn't really tell if it was doing anything, but enough time passed to tell me I was doing something wrong. He attacks by punching and striking a pose, where eyeballs will appear and fire projectiles. Both of these can be blocked by a shield. He has this huge charged attack that you need to cast a shield spell in order to block. This costs most of your mind meter, so if he does 2 in a row, I guess that's just a skill issue. Because even with max mind regeneration, I still couldn't block 2 attacks. He'll still survive, it just hurts. So what are you actually supposed to do? Well, completely counterproductive to everything I was thinking. You need to attack Spencer, shooting his eyeball arms to stun him, and then the demon orb bouncing inside him. Like, I thought we weren't trying to kill him. Do this enough, and he becomes stunned, where we can then hit him with our new spell. Homie, I don't mean to roast you now that you're finally back, but you looked way cooler as a monster. I like how his first line of dialogue is, "It looks like we're even now." Like, are we? For one, you didn't even save Jennifer in Cursed 1, so you really didn't do anything for us. And two, the Jennifer you did save basically ruined your life. So if anything, we screwed you over. I guess we're even in sort of a roundabout way of making it up to him after 10 years. You know, I'm gonna be real, this guy seems pretty smug for someone who got infected by a demon and then proceeded to get lost on his way home for, no joke, 11 years. Came home to find his family also cursed and basically dead, which is all his fault because he moved them here and gave them crystals, and basically stood there and watched as Jennifer killed them all one by one. You think that would, like, have some sort of effect on him, but no, he just doesn't seem to care. He gets straight to the point too, like, damn, corrupted for 11 years, I'd at least need to adjust a bit, take a breather. He explains that when he saved Jennifer back in game 1, he realized firsthand it wasn't her and got corrupted. Where then, 11 years later, he made it back to his house. While his body was corrupted, he still had moments of control, and knew he needed to bring someone uncorrupted here to help him. This ended up being Jennifer, which is why he blew up her car at the beginning of the game. And I don't know about you, but if I drove to an abandoned house, saw there was a strange magic sigil on the door, and then witnessed my car blowing up with some creature staring at me through the flames, I'm hitting the road, bruh, but that's just me. Spencer also explains the essence of faith we saw is what created all gods, including Malus. And he finally explains that the reason Luna got weaker is because inside the essence crystal reveals that it's actually one of those chocolate Easter bunny things that you'd bite into and get real sad, as in it's hollow on the inside. Because dumbass here used part of the crystal to create the Staff of the Moon, truly the LVP of the entire world. Spencer also tells us the new game plan. There's 3 humans that can destroy Malus. How we do this is by using the staff to force Malus to come into this world and enact ritual combat against them. Malus wants the staff because if he replaces the orb on it instead with his essence, he'll be able to travel through time. But if we extract his essence with the spell we used to save Spencer, we can travel back in time to defeat him and prevent any of this from actually happening by winning the war. We head down to the crystal, determined. But then Goofy here tells me that I should go up and call Randall. Like, you couldn't have told me that before we went down here? The two talk and finally catch up on everything that has happened, before Jennifer explains the plan and we all head there. Finally, the crew is together. I won't lie, this shit's pretty cool. We give Spencer the staff and he begins reading off the ritual to bring Malus here. And it works. Malus is like, what the hell? And it's time we fight. This fight is so cool, just pure fan service. Malus first goes up against Spencer, and guess what? He plays exactly how he did in Cursed 1. Same controls, weapons, UI. He even has 2 one-time use scrolls. That's awesome. Even the fight is pretty similar to Cursed 1, as you need a shield at just the right time to block all of Malus's projectiles. Next up is Randall, who really should have brought out his shotgun, but we're working with the tried and true hammer. And guess what? It's the combat system from Curse 2, with the dodging and everything, brought back for just this one fight. These dodges are pretty tight too, but once we deal enough damage, it's Jennifer's turn. If you don't have the shield by now, you truly are just throwing it. Once we deal enough damage, he kneels over, giving us the opportunity to cast that spell on him to extract his essence. But before we can do it, he runs away. Like, shoot. So much for the ritual saying we're locked in combat until one side wins. Spencer also reveals that the one who casts the summoning magic actually dies, so, well, shoot, he's gone. We get an emergency news announcement saying that a massive monster is attacking the city. With him going massive and being miles away, Randall isn't sure what to do, but Jennifer has a plan. Running to the escape room, Jennifer tells Randy that this is where they say their goodbyes, tasking Randy to take the Staff of the Moon and return it to the Faith Crystal, finally allowing Luna to be at full strength. This will also cause all of Malus's army to attack him, where he'll have to defend the crystal with the rest of his life. And I like this sort of twist. In the past games, we always defeated Malus by using the Staff of the Moon, but this time, while we are still technically using the power of the staff, it's its power to the full potential, returned from the source that it was stolen from. It's not just a repeat, and I think that's really neat. Luna ascends the elevator and goes full god mode, flying to Malus. Meanwhile, Randall got a good 10 minutes in him before falling. Death shows up, saying that it's time for him to be taken away, which, damn, Death, can't you see this guy's trying to protect your queen? What are you doing? Randall manages to convince Death to let him continue fighting as undead, and Death decides to join in too. There's not much to say here, this is just badass. But back to Luna, it's time. And I mean it, it's time for the final fight. And what a final fight it is. As in, I was laughing my ass off. You're basically Superman flying towards Malus as he fires attacks that you need to dodge. These come in the form of this spinning green bar, which I'm still not entirely sure how you dodge. I just pick a corner and pray. Which then comes out the flames that you need to be absolutely ready for, which I've seen your gameplay, my gamer, and you are not. It will hurt you. And finally, these rings, which you're supposed to fly through, and nah. You know, as silly and nonsensical as this looks, this is probably his easiest attack once you get the hang of it. Also, Jennifer's health is set to what she was at during the Malus fight, which I took a lot of damage that fight, so that's already a huge L. Meaning while dodging these attacks, I need to whip out the magic too. When we get close enough to Malus, we need to attack his core. I found using the sickle and the flamethrower, which I bought back in Luna's realm, to be pretty handy here. You can only attack for so long before Malus blows you back with a laser, which deals like half your health bar and can actually kill you, which is wild. But once this happens, you just need to fly back to him, bust open his core, and click on it to grab it. Now with the Staff of the Sun, she can travel back in time. Going back to the crystal, Death tells her of Randy's fate, where she reflects just how many people die for her, how many people give their lives up for gods. Death realizes what Luna is getting at, traveling to the very beginning and erasing gods from history. The two have one last conversation discussing the idea, where Luna decides that she doesn't want people to fight for her. She wants humanity to fight for themselves. Using the staff, she travels back in time. But before that, Malus comes through, resulting in one last fight against him with a completely new gameplay style, where we need to move around and shoot him. I'm not sure if it's actually possible to lose here, as it seems like Luna just sort of gets stunned by him. But with Malus truly finally gone, Luna reaches the beginning of everything. I wish I could play this ending as is, but it does use the Skyfall Death Stranding song from Churches, so I'll talk over it. We see the timeline of the universe becoming overridden by the destruction of the crystal. Instead of worshipping gods and fighting wars for them, people instead lived on their own, and history played out in a more peaceful fashion, with one final scene in 1995. And that's it. The end. It's kind of funny how Spencer just isn't mentioned at all. I mean, we can assume he and his family are fine now, but what if him not studying the lunars somehow ended up with him getting hit by a car? Who knows? But yeah, what an awesome ending. I didn't think we could get cooler than Curse 2, but this blows it out of the water. I think the idea is pretty interesting. You could say there is a message here about how gods ruin people, and if there was no religion, no gods to worship, perhaps we'd be closer to peace if we didn't rely on gods, rather us to make our own decisions, to help ourselves and each other. Which, as an agender, it's pronoun monster with radical ideas, I can tell you I've had quite a number of negative interactions with religious churchgoers. So I agree on this message. People would be better if they believed in themselves more, rather than selling their soul and basing their decisions and existence around others, whether it be gods or idols they look up to. But with that in mind, let me take a huge step back by saying I do not think that DisasterSquad was trying to say any message like that with this game. I am the one looking way too deep into the story. I don't believe anything in these games are supposed to be applied to real life. I think Paul just wanted to tell a dope story. Before wrapping up Curse 3, we got some bonus content to look at, just like Curse 2. We got an enemy viewer, tons of dope concept art, character bios, a series timeline for both the actual game and the developer himself. Wait, there was a spirit in the bone marshes I completely missed? Oops. There's also a fan art section with some pretty wild images. And to confront the elephant in the room, there are unlockable fan-made AI images, which, hey, I had no clue about until the very end, as you can see, where most of this video script was made. So I'll use this as an opportunity to discuss. Screw AI images. I don't think any of the in-game assets are AI generated, but if they are, let me know and this video is gone. I take this shit seriously. Let me tell you something. I love nature. I'd rather be around trees than humans. And I'm not ready for lakes to start drying up and nature to start dying because some loser wants to spam funny or sexy AI images to post online. People like that are like people who litter to me. Absolute scum. And of course, the integrity of art and the jobs of artists. That is very important too. And I know, Everything we do hurts nature. Me writing the script on this computer hurts nature. This planet's going to die soon. Everyone's going to die. I get the vibes. But damn, if we can take actions to at least slow that down, then I think we should. But I've said my piece. I want to do my best to not talk about games with this kind of shit in it, but we all know that this is the future, and that's going to get harder every day. I know, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sure most YouTubers wouldn't want to address it, but I don't care. I'm real. Anyways, there's a few bonus modes here that we can play. Puzzle trials? I'm good. Boss rush? Could be interesting. Hide and seek? That's torture. Hardcore mode? Maybe some other time. Horde mode is pretty cool though. It's a sort of wave-based invasion mode, where every wave has random modifiers like no quick turning and such, alongside random enemies chosen to spawn in. At the start of each wave, we can choose one prize, which forms to be just about everything from spirits, weapon mastery, weapons, spells, and level up bonuses. We beat the enemies, groove on them, rinse and repeat. It's pretty cool, and there's definitely a lot of decision making in how you want to play things out with the choices you make. But I think it's time we wrap things up. First of all, Cursed 3. It's my favorite of the series. I know not everyone shares that opinion, and up until the Luna transformation, I was still preferring Cursed 2, but I cannot deny how cool and just how great of a finale that this game is. I also think it's nice just how differently structured this game was from Cursed 2. It could have went the same route of being open world, Jennifer driving around, same battle system, all that, but instead, DisasterSquad sought to do something completely different, which is cool. It makes these games all have individual value. Like, yeah, maybe if this game had the open world car travel of Cursed 2, I would like it more. But it would also diminish Cursed 2, would make it less unique. I will admit, a lot of my love does come from the later half of it. I didn't find the house exploration to be the most enthralling thing, or even the location itself. And even though I missed the dodging system, I think the gameplay is still fun, and the best of the series. And of course, I loved the story too. I came out of Cursed 3 feeling pretty damn satisfied, and I don't think I could have asked for anything better out of a series finale. I love the Cursed series. Such a unique, fun set of games, all with their own quirks, but sharing an art style I adore and a story that I found compelling. It's just cool. It's around here that I should mention that Cursed 1 does have plans for getting a remake, which I think is a good thing. As much as I loved Cursed 2 and 3 and want people to play them, there is a bit of an awkward moment where people ask like, hey, should I also play Cursed 1 too? And you know, don't get me wrong, I like Cursed 1. I think it's interesting. But it would be an insult to say that it compares to Cursed 2 and 3, games that had so much more effort put into them, over the made in a week Cursed 1. I mean, the creator himself says that Cursed 1 sucks, but, you know, at least it's short. Get it over with quick to get onto the cooler games. But maybe a remake can make an experience just as good as Cursed 2 and 3. I can't believe it. Cursed 1 is a rare example of a game that actually has a good reason to get a remake. Especially with all the retcons in the later games, like this story is definitely just being made up as DisasterSquad went on. Pretty sure back in 2009, he didn't think his story would end up like this, or have any sequels at all. So maybe Spencer will finally get his time to shine as being an actual character for Cursed 1. Who knows? And at the end of the day, these games are all free. There's no financial cost to diving into these games, and I think that anyone who watched this video and wants to play them, well, nothing is stopping you. These games ruled harder than I ever thought they would, and that just goes to show the weird, the interesting, unique projects that a single passionate person can make. But as for me, I'm gonna head out for now. I already know this video ain't gonna make it in time for Halloween, but I'll still say it anyways. Happy Halloween, y'all. Huge thanks for Ken Chiago for being a Golly Gamer tier supporter, alongside everyone else still supporting me and getting videos a week earlier. Oh my god, it's over! Making this video made me remember just how painful these long videos are to make. I don't know. I'm cooking things though. Just give me some time. Pieces.